your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from Rock Solid Studios in Granite Falls, it's time for MinneZona Sports, live with DJ Matty C. and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back. Yes. Episode 67, people. 67 episodes. And without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc. And all the way from Woods and Shore Studios in Aiken, Minnesota, Paul Volt, the Shield. What's going on, Shield?
Dude, I am running on 3.5 hours of sleep, and I feel amazing right now. Maybe it was the pre-show beverage that I had. I don't know. Either way, I'm looking forward to another great show. We got a lot of stuff we need to talk about.
We do have a lot of stuff to talk about, and Voldy, it's surprising because you've had one heck of a Tuesday night, because you
Tuesday
actually hit a deer as well.
Yeah, it was traumatic.
Yeah.
First time ever.
Hey.
I hit a deer, and luckily enough, obviously I'm here. I'm fine. Car's fine for the most part as well, but first time ever, hit a deer. And I'm just like, I just hit a deer. I can't believe it. I literally hit a deer, and I don't know if the deer's okay, but the right side of my car being splattered in its guts and stuff, I would probably venture to say deer is probably not okay.
Probably
just,
not.
Throwing that out there. Yeah.
It's probably on his career-ending injury, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you said there's deer remnants on your car, so there's that we have to.
We'll get to that a little bit later with Shield shoutouts.
Okay.
We'll talk about that too.
Okay. A little spoiler alert. Dang, Paul, if you live back home, I know someone who can fix it. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Victor would.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So, but anyway, let's get to some tater tot hot take. Let's preview something first. We're talking about the Wild offseason. Obviously, the Wild lose to the Vegas Knights, but we're going to get into that. We're going to get into a little offseason talk as well with this, and we're talking about the Vikes. Is there moves coming soon? Do we know? Do we have any indication if the Vikings are going to make moves? They got some more cap space, so hey, let's get into it with some tater tot. Oh, yeah, hot take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, Voldy, time for some tater tot hot take. And we're starting off with the Minnesota Wild. You know, the past, maybe a month or so, we've been talking about the Minnesota Wild. We're talking about how, well they've played, and obviously almost coming back from a 3-1 deficit against the Vegas Golden Knights. Now we look at this team. They lose in Game 7. They lose 6-2. And now we got to look ahead to the offseason, which it's very bright. And, we got to give credit where credit is due to a lot of the Wild organization. I think there's a lot of hope with this team, Voldy. And I think there's with Kaprizov and with guys like Sturm, guys like Bonino that have stepped in, Zuccarello, who's been fantastic. Not the ending we wanted, but at the same time, we didn't expect this team to do anything this year. So, a lot of claps out to the Minnesota Wild for a great season. And there's more to be had. So it's time to move into the offseason with this, Voldy. I was looking up some articles on what they need to do, and I think we can all agree, the zoners and myself and you, Voldy, that they gotta make sure Kaprizov's staying here for like a long time. So, wouldn't you say that's priority number one in the offseason for the Wild?
Yeah, priority number one is getting Kirill the Thrill locked down longer than Zach Parise and Ryan Suter in their 13-year, nearly $100 million contracts.
Yeah.
That is definitely priority number one because of the fact he revitalized the franchise on the first night that he played in the NHL. Got the game winner against the Anaheim, against Los Angeles, against the Kings, and from that point on, we knew there was something special going to be happening to the point where he was able to propel the team back into the postseason. Definitely priority number one for old Billy Guerin is definitely locking up for Kaprizov ASAP.
Yeah, ASAP, and Victor's saying right here too that like I said before, no one predicted where the Wild would end, and obviously we didn't think they, like I said, middle of the road, maybe playoffs, maybe not playoffs, but they exceeded expectations. So we agree with Victor. But then he also says, don't mess up the expansion draft. Ha ha ha.
Yep.
And I don't think they will. I just think that Guerin knows what he's doing in these certain aspects and whatnot. But it would be a absolute travesty if the Wild don't work out a deal to keep Kirill the Thrill, Dollar Bill Kirill in Minnesota. And again, he's going to win the Calder. I think that's for sure. If
He
that's
better.
And if he doesn't, I'm going to be very upset. I'll probably be throwing things around in the Granite Falls studio here, Studio B, I should say. But at the same time, we gotta realize too that nothing surprises me from the NHL anymore, especially with all these illegal hits, and especially the Game 7 got really chippy, and not only very chippy, but there were a lot of missed calls in that. Not saying that it was the complete reason why the Wild lost. I'm just saying there was a lot of missed calls in it. But getting back to the point here, Guerin has to sit down with his agent and Kirill and figure out a way to keep this guy in Minnesota. And he wants to be here. He clearly wants to be here, and I know that they'll work out a deal, and I'm pretty confident in that. And we need dollar bill Kirill. So please, dollar bill Kirill, let's work out a deal that works not only for you, but the Wild as well. So let's move on to the next thing, Voldy. There's some restricted free agents here. Okay, we got Kevin Fiala, we got Joel Eriksson Ek. Now, these are some key pieces, and I think Fiala's had some games where he's kind of disappeared a little bit, but when he's on, man, watch out. I think in the offseason they're going to work with him on being, more consistent and everything like that. So, do you foresee Voldy and Zoners too, the Wild signing both, Fiala and Eriksson Ek here in the offseason?
I think those are the three guys that are going to be the biggest difference for the Wild is Fiala, Eriksson Ek, and obviously Kirill Kaprizov. The moment that we got to Game 7, no matter what was going to happen, immediately I thought Bill Guerin going into this offseason is going to have to buy and sell this whole team like Chicago did after they won the Stanley Cup in 2010. Anybody that had a reason or played moderately well for Chicago that year was on a different team by next. They literally kept like 4 or 5 guys. They were trading and signing guys left and right. Anybody that had any reason why they were good in that postseason that year was gone the next year. I mean, they had all their guys that needed to go. But Kaprizov, Fiala, Joel Eriksson Ek, I think definitely is going to be the 3 guys that definitely need to get brought back. I'm also throwing in Jordan Greenway. He's going to have to be one of the top guys next year, too, if he gets locked up. But if, he falls victim of the expansion draft, that is going to be a big,
good point.
Big hurt for the Wild, too. Because if you look at Kevin Fiala, I mean, this offseason, didn't know if the season was going to happen or not. Then you get the restricted year as well. Yeah, the postseason as well, the last season in the bubble. You don't know if you're going to be playing. So I'm not overly concerned by the fact that some of the numbers were not as skewed in the right direction as they should have been with Fiala. but I think there are definitely a lot of good pieces right there, and especially with Eriksson Ek coming out of nowhere this season. I thought if he had another year like he had been the last couple of years, I think I would have been fine with him being more, being let go or being a victim of the expansion draft, because the last time that happened, the Wild lost Alex Tuck and Eric Howla as well. Those guys have been doing pretty well for themselves, especially for Tuck as well out in Vegas. But definitely locking up Fiala and Eriksson Ek, and definitely being more face-off savvy, like Metzler brought up, is definitely going to be a big plus for the Wild if they can get that figured out.
I'm glad Metz brought that up, because the guy that was very, very, very good at face-offs was Mikko Koivu. And obviously Koivu, retired and everything like that. But Metz is right. They need another center for one, too. I from what I can tell and what I've heard from an expert on the Wild for MinneZona, Mr. Blake Hockert, is that there's a couple guys that he'd like to see not be back with the Wild. Victor Rask, I think, is one, apparently.
Yep.
I think that's that. And then Susie, for defenseman purposes, I think Susie has been not good. So looking at, those types of guys, I think the Wild can, the Guerin's going to do what he does best, and he's going to find the right guys for this team. Now, for the guys that probably won't be sticking around, would probably, like I said, Rask, Susie. But you mentioned Greenway, too, and Greenway could, the expansion draft. I mean,
Yep.
who is going to be going to Seattle, which, again, it could be interesting. But at the same time, you might have to give up somebody, but hey, I think the can't touches is probably like a Kaprizov, definitely. There's no frickin' way that they're not gonna, if they did that, they'd be pretty stupid. But at the same time, they won't do that. Now, another interesting thought. Before I move on, I got to get to zoners. And Eric Stahl. Eric Stahl, another guy, too, that was very good face-offs and very good goal scorer as well. I think Susie paired well with Cole, honestly, with Ian Cole. And
Carson Susie is worth keeping just the name alone. And, especially if you get into it, Carson Susie. Come on. I do it every time I see him hit the ice, or even if he gets a point. The primary assist goes to Carson Susie.
Well, hey, if it
too
works.
Perfect.
If it's perfect, then fine. I'm just saying, this is what I've heard. I haven't watched enough of Susie to know. I'm just saying from what I've heard from Mr. Blake Hockert, and he's not a huge fan of Susie. Johansson, that's a different. I think Johansson. I think we're on the fence on, right? Yeah. So again, we'll see what happens. But the point, or one other thing I was going to get to here too, is what do you do with Parisi? And when I was reading this article before the show, Voldy, according to obviously Pioneer Press, TwinCities.com, this could get messy. It's clear Parisi is unhappy with the way he was treated down the stretch. I think we all knew that. He voiced his frustration after the Game 7 loss to the Golden Knights, and he hinted he wouldn't be interested in playing a depth role moving forward. I think here's where it gets a little tough for not only Wild fans, but Parisi's meant so much to the Wild organization, and we can't thank him enough for what he has done and what he has brought to the table. But there's got to be... I don't think the Wild are going to be keeping him. I really don't think so. I think he's been very frustrated by the way he's been treated. But when he's actually been in the game, he's actually been... he was good, down the stretch here, but at the same time, he wants a bigger role. Let's remember, Guerin did try to deal him not too long ago to the Islanders. He was trying to help him find a place with New York and everything like that, and they couldn't get a deal done and everything like that. So he's definitely looking forward to getting out of Minnesota. And I don't want to say I don't want to say that he's gone, everyone give up. I don't know. Maybe the Wild can do something here, but I seriously doubt that Zach Parise will stay with the Minnesota Wild. Voldy, what do you think? Do you think Parise's gonzo during this offseason, or are they going to work out something?
I found it funny, too. Zach Parise is going to turn 37 in July, and he was quoted earlier this week saying that he thinks he's still one of the best presences in front of the net in the entire league. Zach Parise, 37 years old, thinks he's still one of the best guys in front of the net right now in the NHL. In the NHL right now, saying that when he couldn't crack the lineup in the playoff series against Vegas, was a healthy scratch multiple times, and when he did play, not exactly the numbers that we'd grown accustomed with Zach Parise. All I have to say is the writing is on the wall for Zach Parise in Minnesota. Look, I'm a Zach Parise diehard.
Me too.
I will go to bat for Zach Parise every single day. Right now, in this stage of his career, I think it's either one of those. It has to be a mutual parting, or someone's got to see the light of day. And I'm hoping it's Zach Parise, because the longer this drags out, the more animosity, the more he's not going to be liked in Minnesota. I mean, he's looking at an annual cap hit, $7.5 million right now. And especially, he's got a deal right now that's a no movement clause. So it's either pay or play right now.
Right.
And right now, I don't think Bill Guerin wants to pay or play him at all. I don't know what Dean Evison has to say about the whole situation, but looking at it, I think it's just time for Zach to, either got to go somewhere else, or, I hate to say hang him up, but I think he's still got maybe a year left in him.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't see it in Minnesota.
And I think he wants to go to, obviously not saying the Wild aren't, cup contender. I mean, obviously they lost this past year, but, from what they've been doing, it's looking pretty good. Now, I just think this is too fractured to even go where they want to go with this. And it'll be sad. And, yeah, the longer he stays, I think a lot of people are going to get frustrated with him. But let's get to Victor here. He said Parise needs to be a better team guy, just from what I have heard. I've heard the same thing, and I think Dean Evison and him, I think, don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, too. So there's a lot of built-up frustration. Ryan Carter on the SS Tenna Fitzgerald, I know what that is, Tenna B. Mentioned that Parise wasn't on the power play this year, and look what happened. We struggled. So there's that, too. So, it's another off-season thing that they need to address, is getting guys that can put the puck in the net on the power play. You got Kaprizov and everything like that, but still, there's a lot to be had here, and it's going to be it's a very key off-season. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Let's get better, Let's go and get better here. So, but anyway, we'll definitely keep track of this as the off-season goes along with the Wild. Speaking of another team in the offseason, the Minnesota Vikings.
Yep.
Just on June 1st, the Vikings actually freed up some cap space here, Voldy. They have about, I think it's like 13.9. People say 14, but it's, if you want to use the decimal system, you can go with 13.9, give or take. Now,
right.
I look at this and think, okay, what are they going to do here now that they have some not free money, I should say, but now that they have some cap space? There's a guy that hasn't reported to OTAs. There's that. I think maybe looking at possibly a new deal with Daniil is a possibility. Not saying that the Vikings won't do that, but they got to find a way to remedy the situation with Daniil. We had talked about it last week, but I'm feeling optimistic that Daniil will be with the Vikings. I don't know if I'm hoping that he comes to minicamp, so then we don't have to worry about anything with that. But for sure, training camp. If they don't have him, if they don't have something figured out with him by training camp, I'm worried. I'm very worried. So there's that. But I want to get to Victor here before we go. Power play made huge strides at the end of the year. So there's that. There's that.
So it was a rough start. Yeah, they were like 0 for 30 something or something like that to start the year, but eventually started getting it together. So
yeah. Victor says not worried about Hunter, honestly. Well, let me ask you this though, and this won't all be about Daniil because I want to get to touch on some other things here too. But Voldy and the zoners too. If we get to training camp and he's still not there, I'm very worried. Like if he misses mini camp, I'm kind of like okay, like it's time to get it going here. But
right.
if we get to training camp, I'd be concerned. Voldy, wouldn't you be?
I'm concerned. I'm definitely not freaking out entirely about it because I know it's going to be, when talking about anything related to the defense, it's like, oh yeah, and we don't have Daniil here. Yeah, that's just great to think about and try to put together a defense that got lit up for 90 points a game for 5,000 yards a series as well last year, with everybody hurt and everybody sitting out as well. But that's the fact that they went out and got some guys defensively, especially in the defensive backfield as well, that was sorely needed this offseason for the Vikings. They bring in a couple guys, Dalvin Tomlinson, of course, Michael Pierce now getting in after sitting out last season. That's going to help. It's not Daniil Hunter, I'll say.
Yeah.
Those two guys are not Daniil Hunter.
Yep.
Beefing up that defensive line, that's going to help. That's going to put the pressure on the quarterback to help set up in the backfield as well, the defensive backfield that is. But all I know is not having Daniil in by the start of minicamp and training camp, it's going to be concerning, especially training camp. If he's not there, it's just, well, great. Now, the Vikings still laugh the league, and it's just going to be more annoying to try to talk anything positive while everybody could just bring up is like, you guys can't even sign your best defensive player.
Yeah. Well, not only that, though, Voldy, I think we got to realize, too, and Metz actually brings up a good point. You don't want to rush him back too quickly because you don't want a Hughes 2.0. Well, exactly. Daniil's proven himself time and time again, whereas Hughes has just been Hughes with that. But Daniil Hunter, I said this. I said this last week. We need Daniil Hunter. The Vikings need Daniil Hunter, and Daniil Hunter needs the Vikings, and I firmly believe that. Because, Andre Patterson, Zim, the whole defense, the defensive coaches, who's ever worked with Daniil, they've done a wonderful job. And they've made him one of the top pass rushers in the game. Now, with an injury, the Vikings have already kind of given him a contract, but now he wants a new contract, which we understand. But Daniil's looking really good. Obviously, he posted on Instagram that he was hanging out or driving cars or whatever. And, he's more than welcome to do that. I think Slick Rick is going to find a way to get something done so Daniil doesn't have, so there's no friction between the Vikings and Daniil. Now, I don't think they're going to trade him. And I'm not going to sit here and say the Vikings are not going to trade Daniil Hunter because the last time I did that with Stephon Diggs, he got traded. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I don't believe that they're going to go that far and say, oh, he's just going to do this X, Y, and Z. No, Daniil Hunter, I feel like the Vikings are going to get something done. I really do. Is he underpaid? Yeah, I'd say so. I think Daniil has proven that he's been a top pass rusher in the NFL. And as it showed last year, if Yannick Ngakoue is getting all the sacks and we didn't have one person, lead the team in sacks with over 5, I think it was, or something like that. We need Daniil. And it's that simple. You need to get Daniil. Let's get him back. Let's get him going. Victor says, Hunter is underpaid. I do not have any qualms about that. But he just came off the season where he didn't play, and we need to make sure he is still the same. Spielman has always been open to renegotiating contracts. Exactly. And that's exactly what I've been saying. Now, Metz makes a good point. You don't want him to be a Hughes 2.0, but this is a herniated disc, okay? This is something you don't want to mess with as well. So maybe they're just kind of, giving him some time to get back and be, strengthened and ready to go, and I think he will be. Now, one other thing that I think we need to address, we talked about Daniil, and this will be the last thing, but Jeff Gladney, that's another situation that we have to monitor. The Vikings have actually, they just signed a veteran corner, not like a couple hours ago, I believe, a former Titan, Ty Smith is one of them. So, I mean, Zim's loading up on the defensive backs, and you can't have enough defensive backs. We understand that. But the whole Jeff Gladney thing, it doesn't look good. I really think that he might be released at some point. I mean, Voldy, what do you think about that situation?
I think right now, Spielman said it best. They're just kind of letting the legal process play out right now. You don't want to give up on a guy too quickly, but at the same time, the longer you hold on to him, the longer or maybe potentially the uglier the situation gets. Not going to look good for a lot of teams and not look good, especially for the Vikings too. But, the amount of depth that they brought back, they did bring back Mackenzie Alexander as well, who knows the defense. I mean, signed like Perry Nickerson, Amari Henderson in at depth as well in that defensive back field as well. I mean, you've got Patrick Peterson, you've got Cam Dantzler as well. I mean, there's plenty of guys in there that can certainly provide depth. Guys that are back that are veterans and guys that were here last year that, got roughed around a little bit now have experience under their belts as well. So it's only going to kind of benefit the Vikings a little bit more here now that they have guys that have been here before and guys know what to get accustomed to, especially when it comes to a Mike Zimmer defense. So I could definitely see Gladney getting released. Again, it's one of those you got to let things kind of play out a little bit, but it helps that they have not wasted any time and waiting for something to happen only to get caught with your hand in the cookie jar and be like, well, we came out with nothing on the whole thing.
Exactly, and I think you like you said, you let the process play. He could be going to jail too. So I mean, there's that to factor in. So, but with the cap space too, people are thinking, well, extensions. I mean, Brian O'Neill, I think, is one guy that you got to look into. Harrison Smith, I mean, I think that's another name that you got to look at too. I think he's shown his age a little bit, but I never doubt Dirty Harry. Harry. But, there's some big decisions that they have to make here soon. And Breland, like you mentioned too, I think that's another situation to where if they end up signing him, that tells me that the Vikings are kind of looking at this and saying, well, if we don't have Gladney, we have some guys that can fill in. And I think that with the guys that we have now, Peterson, Alexander, Dantzler, I mean, we have a whole slew of guys that are ready to go. So
I think the Vikings are almost kind of going semi all in right now. If they go out and get Bashad Breeland as well, you bring in him. You bring in Patrick Peterson as well. You get a couple guys back from injuries. I mean, with Anthony Barr, Eric Kendricks as well. Yeah. Those guys are in the, I hate to say the twilight of their careers where they're not exactly spring chickens anymore. And you got Harrison Smith, who's, on the backside of his career, but honestly was probably the best defensive player for the Vikings this past year. And that's saying something as well. Definitely one of the top 3 defensive players for the Vikings this past year. And it's hard to name 2 other guys that contributed as much as he was, especially the fact where the defensive backfield was as banged up and as new as it was last year. It's interesting to see what kind of moves they do make if Rick and Zim go in on a couple more guys just to say, like, look, this is either going to be the year or this is the year that, it all falls apart.
And one name, and then we'll move on to top 10 and famous. One name I want you guys to think about, Harrison Hand. He actually had a pretty doggone good season when he filled in. Yes, the hand. He's had a pretty good OTAs, and again, the depth I think is there with these corners. Let's get the pass rushing. Let's get Daniil in. So let's get all in on this and let's get this going. So again, we're gonna keep track, and any other big signings for the Vikes and everything like that, we'll keep you posted. But anyway, Voldy, we posted this on the socials medias. We've actually got some zoners that have sent in some names that we should consider. Okay, so I'm going to bring those to you. We're going to show you our updated list, and I think they're going to be really good. I'm pretty stoked about it. Now, and I want to say this to the zoners too. Zoners, feel free to throw in some names that you guys think should be on our list, or maybe you can make your own list and send it to us, and we can put it on MinneZona Sports Live. We show you the list and everything like that. There you go. So think of some names, put them in the comment section, or make your own list and send it to us later. It's up to you. But let's get it going with some the top 10 infamous lists.
Here's the list no one wants to be on. Infamous Top 10.
I can never get enough of that. The carousel there.
It's too funny. The Ferris wheel's hilarious.
I came up with it, and the Kerf Doctor just made it just amazing. He's fantastic with the graphics. And,
I have to update a few faces on it though.
Yeah, we might. That's a good point. That's a very good point, Voldy. So we'll have to keep in tune with that and make sure that we update it. But we do have I have an updated list. Voldy has his updated list. So shall we unveil our list, Voldy?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. So zoners, again, we're going to show you our list, and you feel free to chime in whenever. If you have an honorable mention or anything like that, or names that we should consider, please let us know. So anyway, here is our top 10 infamous list. Boom! Here we go. I'll start off this time, Voldy. Let's get it going with my list, and then we'll throw it over to you. Well, number 10, it's Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler. Oh, Jimmy. Now, the reason why Jimmy's still on this list is because, Jimmy was Jimmy here in Minnesota, and obviously people, take the side of Jimmy, which is fine. I understand, the whole work hard thing and not liking a lot of his teammates because they don't work like him and things like that. But the reason why I kept him here on this list is because he just got swept by the Milwaukee Bucks 4-0. What the hell happened, Jimmy? What happened to the Heat? They just kind of fizzled out. And not only that, Jimmy Buckets did not play well either. Nope. He was locked up, and the Bucks locked him down. And, Jimmy, I thought you were supposed to be the leader. You guys went to the finals not too long ago. What happened, buddy? Did you take a separate flight out to go back to Miami, or where'd you go? Tell us. Is there going to be controversy this offseason? Because it might happen. Who knows? Call Rachel Nichols. So he's still on this list, number 10. All right, number 9. This is very recent, Voldy. Very, 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 very recent. Ryan Reeves. That S.O.B. Oh, boy. That guy is a dirty player. I'm not going to lie. What he did to Suter in Game 7, absolutely positive. If this was absurd to prove, it would be absolutely positively absurd. I can't fathom how many times that guy has gone out and had a dirty hit and ruffling people's feathers. This guy is a clown. And he's suspended right now, I believe. Right, Voldy? If I'm not mistaken.
I believe so, yeah.
So he's suspended for all these, hits. He's suspended 2 games. So, yeah, he's on this list because, maybe he should be public enemy number 1. I think now we finally have the Golden Knights as a big rivalry now. So, I don't have a lot of love for the Golden Knights and Ryan Reeves for one. So, he's on this list, newly appointed. So that's one change that I have, Voldy. And number 8, obviously, no change here. Greg Williams, Sean Payton. We know the story. You guys know what I'm talking about with Williams, with Payton. Those guys are absolute clowns. I hate them. We're going to move on to the next one. Number 7, the Green Bay Packers. And I know Mets is tuning in right now. Why do I have the Green Bay Packers? Well, the reason why I have the Green Bay Packers, I should put the Green Bay Packers organization
Yes.
Because how they're handling the situation with Aaron Rodgers. Now they're not moving their ground, and they're standing their ground. They're standing their ground, Voldy and Zoners. They're standing their ground. But you got to realize too that the guy just won MVP last year. Why all of a sudden are you guys not willing to be like, maybe we should get you the pieces you need, right? Mm-hmm. And yes, he's got pieces. And don't get me wrong, he's got pieces. But if you guys can't keep your quarterback happy, especially, I know Rodgers said with the Kenny Mayne that that it's not the pick with Jordan Love and everything. Yeah, okay. You were peeved about that. Let's be honest here. Let's be honest. You were not happy when they took a quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. But at the same time, the Green Bay Packers, they could be they might be smarter than they actually look here. But at the same time, you got to find a way to mend the bridges here because, this guy's been your franchise for 16 years or something like that? Yep. No, well, not say. I guess with the Favre and everything like that, but a good amount of years here, so got to consider that. All right, moving on to our next one. Josh Gordon, because Josh Gordon's still doing Josh Gordon things. Obviously, this guy has a lot of problems. Voldy and I have said on multiple occasions with this guy, he just can't figure it out. How many chances are we going to give this young man to play football and everything like that? It's getting ridiculous at this point. But not too far along after that, Voldy. Number 5, Johnny Manziel. And I understand that he goes by John Manziel right now. But then again, I don't give a rip. I don't care if you're named John Manziel, Johnny Manziel, Johnny Bench, Johnny Football. You're still Johnny Manziel to me. And here's the thing. I don't absolutely hate Johnny. I kind of like the guy, to be honest, but he's had his opportunities, and he threw it in the trash. In the NFL. So it's not great. Not great.
Remember, kids, stay in school.
Yep, stay in school. Number 4, my good friend A-Rod. Oh, A-Rod, You clearly want to twist the knife. You really do. You buy the Timberwolves. You try and take the team away and put them somewhere else. Maybe he will. I don't know. He says they won't. Mark Lowry and everything like that, but it doesn't surprise me. It really doesn't surprise me that he bought the Wolves and everything like that. But the fact still remains, the guy's a cheater. I don't know. You might have to ask J-Lo if he's a cheater too, because I'm sure he did cheat. Now, once a cheater, always a cheater. The reason why he's still on this list is because, well, guess what? He's a cheater. There we go. But number 3, Chad Wheeler. Obviously, this guy, domestic abuse, domestic assault to his girlfriend and or wife. This guy deserves to be on this list 100%. I wonder where that situation's at, to be honest. I don't know if you had any updates, Voldy, or if the Zoners do, but I don't know. I guess we'll have to look into it. But let's get to the Zoners here. Victor says he's suspended because of a hit on an Avs player. Should have been suspended sooner. You're damn right on that, Victor. You're damn right with Ryan Reeves. Absolute clown. All right, let's wrap things up. Donald Sterling, he's banned from the NBA, obviously. We know what he said and everything like that. He'll be dishonorable mention. And then number 1, Voldy, it's not surprising to anybody, Infamous Jameis. We just can't not have him at number 1. But you know what? Infamous Jameis, we've given you many opportunities to finally take that name off you. You're still Infamous Jameis to us, so.
Still got an open spot if he wants to come on the show.
We do. We do have an open spot. And I promise I will play nice. But I still have to ask about the crab legs.
There's 2 ways he can redeem himself. 1 is by coming on the show, and 2 is by completely tanking the New Orleans Saints.
The Aints.
Doing it.
Yes, you're right, Voldy. Oh, my gosh. All right, Voldy, it's time for your list. What do you got?
All right, so I made a couple of changes as well, very similar fashion. We're going to start off with Washington Capitals forward Tom Wilson. Scumbag Steve he is, especially with a couple of dirty hits towards the end of the regular season that led to a little hoopla in the league, suspensions left and right. And yet Tom Wilson is still breathing in the first place on the ice as well. So Tom Wilson makes an appearance at the number 10 spot. Number 9 still remains, actually moving up here this week. YouTube TV.
Wow.
Just give me my Bally Sports North. That's all I want. I want to watch the Twins. I want to watch the Wild. I want to have the option to not watch the Timberwolves. I want to have that option, but I don't.
Yeah.
Why you do this to me, YouTube TV and Bally Sports North, whatever you want to call yourself nowadays. Former Wild general manager holds down the number 8 spot at Chuck Fletcher. You could put, all the other guys that have been there since old Billy Guerin decided to come into the fold. Dead money contracts that are now rearing their ugly heads. Yeah. The whole Zach Parise situation. Chuck Fletcher holds down that number 8 spot. Our good friend, Mr. Josh Gordon. It'd be interesting to see. You put Josh Gordon, you put our number 2 candidate, John Bones Jones, in the same room. I wonder how long it would take for either one of them to screw something up. Just, you literally sit them down. The only thing in the room is 2 chairs, and they'd find a way to fail a drug test just right then and there. Just entering the room completely, sober and clean as well. They'd find a way to fail a drug test as well.
Yep.
At the number 6 spot, Phil, no longer to the thrill. Kessel, obviously the thrill being taken by our good friend Mr. Kirill Kaprizov as well. Yeah, he's turned in a pretty halfway decent, hockey career. Maybe he might be able to make a few bucks on a couple signing appearances, but not so much otherwise. At the number 5 spot, still holding steady, is Minnesota T-Pups, the Timberwolves that is. And you know what? They are starting to look a little bit more towards the fair side as well. Obviously, the whole A-Rod situation, and you're talking about how A-Rod there in your top 5 there, DJ Matty C.
Yeah.
But are you saying now you'd rather have Glenn Taylor as opposed to A-Rod owning the Timberwolves?
Ooh, no, that's a great question. That is a great question because Glenn Taylor has royal. Here's the thing. I will say that I actually rather have A-Royd himself instead of Glenn Taylor. I think Glenn Taylor has done a terrible job with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Obviously, the Lynx are a different situation, but at the same time, bad deals, bad general managers. At this point, let's see what happens with A-Rod. You could be off this list if things start to turn around for the Wolves. Honestly, it's very possible. So, but yeah, to answer your question, I'd rather have A-Rod. So.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Moving on. Number 4 spot, Mr. Johnny Manziel, John Manziel, whatever you want to call yourself nowadays. The whole failed experience with the fan-controlled football league, whatever that was, in the winter and or spring.
What was that?
I just would have liked to see him play more, is the thing. I don't know the rules. I don't know how that all turned out. But from what I saw, he did fairly decent, I think, as well. And I think former UND quarterback, friend of the show, Travis Toivonen, was in that for a hot second as well, playing in that fan-controlled league or whatever the heck it was called as well by those Twitch dudes as well. Number 3 spot remains the Big Ten Conference, laughing stock of the FBS system and the Power 5 Conference, a mid-major conference with $1 billion budget, the Big Ten Conference. Catering to the needs of one when you have 12 schools in your conference doesn't exactly put you in a good light for a lot of reasons. At the number 2 spot, Mr. John Bones Jones, the ugly half of the 2 guys that would find a way to screw up a drug test in any situation when they're just sitting in a room not doing anything. John Bones Jones, a pretty good, in-ring career. Out of the ring, pretty dicey, to say the least. And, of course, Infamous Jameis at the 1 spot. Again, we still have an open invitation for Infamous Jameis to come on the show. And only one request as well. Tank the Aints. That's all that we want as well. We'll redeem you. We'll take you off the number 1 spot if you just do hold up your end of the bargain. It's that easy.
Hashtag it. Infamous Jameis, we want you to come on the show, man. We really want you to come on the show. So.
Do it.
But anyway, Voldy, I have a couple for you. Then we got to move on to ARA. But Zoners, please let us know if there's some guys that we need to add to this and or consider, or if you have your own list, please let us know. What do we got? All right, we have one, and this guy has actually been on the socials media talking a lot of schmack, and I'll have to impersonate the good old Stephen A. Smith. Kwame Brown, I think needs to be on this list. The guy was a first-round pick. I think he was the first pick in one of the drafts, and he was. And Stephen A. I think is going back on his whole he's a bona fide scrub. But the guy was a bona fide scrub. I'm sorry, He was a bona fide scrub. And the reason why is, he has the size, but the guy could not play basketball. And he had a 13-year career, which, okay, we understand that. But weren't you supposed to, be an absolute star? And he only had double-digit points for one season, maybe, or came close to. Maybe he didn't even get it. I don't know. I think we need to consider. I think we definitely need to consider this. But apparently, he's been going off on people. So, Voldy, are we considering Kwame Brown on the infamous list?
Dude, if this was 15 years ago, yeah. It's been so long, I can't even remember the last time when the last time Kwame Brown even entered my mind in the first place. But, man, that is a deep cut right there.
That is, yeah. We had a request. That says 17 Astros and Roberto Alomar. Anything about that? Yay, nay?
All right.
Nay? We'll consider.
Yeah, there's a couple contenders there.
And Voldy, look who it is. Will Rattel. Kwame is hilarious. I have listened to some of his rants and everything, and they are actually kind of funny. But at the same time, Kwame, you didn't have the greatest career, buddy. Okay, so let's. You have a lot of lowlights, and we can show them to you. And I think Stephen A. already did that for you. Okay, one more here for you, Voldy, and Zoners too. This one is a little interesting. It could be controversial. Rafael Palmeiro, remember him?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I think we need to consider this. He said in court, I did never take steroids, never taken steroids ever, and then they find out that he actually did. I think that's just more funny. I think we maybe consider that one too. I don't know, but that was another name. So we'll keep in tune and keep you posted on it. So, but anyway, like we said, Zoners, if you guys have some names, please throw it out at us. It can be during the show here. We can throw it to you. But if you want to make your own list, please make your own list. We'll throw it on. We'll throw it on our page or something like that on the socials media. So we're here to serve you. That's the point here. So anyway, Voldy, let's get it rolling with some absurd or approved. We got some good ones, and I think there's a lot of good gems with this. So let's get it rolling with absurd or approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, Voldy Zoners, it's time for Absurd or Approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, over the weekend, a Boston Celtics fan who threw a water bottle at Kyrie Irving as the Brooklyn Nets defeated the Boston Celtics 141-126. Ultimately, the Nets taking the series in 6 games on Sunday, was arrested following the being escorted out of TD Garden Arena, and thus bringing another situation to the light of some of the distastefulness that Boston has for the likes of Kyrie Irving since his departure from the Celtics some time ago. Now, this is not the first time that this has happened to Kyrie. One other guy that always seems to catch flack on the court for fans, Russell Westbrook is another guy that always seems to be getting hate on, or fan interaction coming out of the tunnel or even on the court as well. Now, this is one of multiple incidents that continues to arise with the NBA especially. So, is it absurd or approved? This incident leading to changes within the NBA when it comes to fan and even arena interaction with players?
Well, there's a lot of layers to this, especially with the Kyrie situation. Kyrie went to the center court and wiped his feet on the Celtics logo. And that, a lot of, I'm not saying that was right. I'm not saying that he should have done that. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that don't like that at all. I mean, they take that as an absolute diss. And for the fan to go out and throw a water bottle at him, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. I think it's too far. And some of the things that have been said, I mean, ask John Morant's parents. That, all these racist remarks and calling them, just saying some very nasty things. And but a lot of, and then people storming the court or streaking and going on the court. They're going trying to get people's attention. It's like, what the hell's going on here? Why are people getting so wound up? And here's what's interesting. Kevin Durant made a good point here too. There's been more fans that have been let into stadiums with the COVID-19 and whatnot, and maybe people are just happy to be out, and they think, well, maybe if I go out on the court and disrupt everything, people will notice, and they're all pent up and frustrated. But I think KD also said, but fans need to grow the F up, too. And,
right.
Throwing water bottles at guys and things like, I mean, this isn't the WWF in 1998, which was a great era, by the way.
Attitude era, baby.
The attitude era, we love it. But in this instance, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Don't throw stuff at, players. I mean, they're trying to play the game. They're trying to, just enjoy the game. And I think that's what, I think that's what, they're trying to get across is like, look, we're human beings, But Kyrie, I'm not saying that Kyrie asked for it, but doing something like that, and Boston fans they do not like Kyrie at all. Like, they absolutely hate Kyrie at this point. But this incident, I think they need to make some changes, and I think a lot of this has to be. I mean, these punishments may have to be a little bit more severe, and obviously you want to have the parameters in place to make sure that you're not, going overboard. Like if someone says you suck or something like that, like you can't just be like, oh, you're banned forever. It's like everyone says you suck at some, sporting event. At some sporting event, that's what they'll do. At a professional one, I should say, college, same deal. Maybe even high school, but even that's a little sketchy in itself. But, I think it's got my stamp of approval. I think there needs to be changes. There's too many of these incidents going on, so I think they need to readjust a little bit. So, Voldy, what do you think?
I don't get it, is the thing. Like with Kyrie Irving, I don't understand why the Celtics fans turned on him as soon as he joined the Celtics in the first place. Like, you should be excited. You had a guy. You had him for 2 seasons. You lost him in free agency. So what? Get on with your life and move on. You got some good players. You got Tatum. You got Jaylen Brown as well. Had a couple of decent teams, and now the fact that there's so much hatred of the fact where people are throwing stuff at athletes is just ridiculous. Like, look, honestly, you're not going to make that much of a difference. They're still going to be millionaires at the end of the day, and you're just going to end up spending the night in jail. I mean, there's no particular reason. Like, especially for Boston fans, I mean, Just throw that out of there. It's just ridiculous because of the fact that this just keeps happening to, like, I don't know Kyrie Irving as a person. I don't know if he's, for lack of a better term, I don't know if he's a dick or not, but from what I can tell, he seems like a genuine person. He has an opinion. Obviously this may be the catalyst to kind of jump things off, but I just don't understand why this continues to keep happening, especially like Metzler just brought up with Russell Westbrook. It's not like he's going out there and being, again, dickish to people. Yeah. He's just out there because he's the only guy out there doing anything worth a darn. He's got all these triple doubles. He's breaking records, and people are still wanting to throw crap at him. I don't get it. But I think if this does lead to change, it is sorely needed for the NBA.
Yeah, you don't want this getting out of hand, especially with the playoffs and everything. And, there's a lot of pent-up frustration because you want your team to win, and I understand that. But, I mean, you can't be doing things like that. Throwing and then I think it was like popcorn at Westbrook or something like that. Like, come on, guys. First of all, we're better than that. So, but, yeah, it's got our stamps of approval. They need to get something going here. So I think that's all we need to say about that. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, an interesting sport, staying on the sport of basketball, going to be making its debut in the Tokyo Olympics. It's 3-on-3 basketball that is going to be making its debut in the 2020, technically 2021 Olympics in Tokyo. Well, unfortunately, one team is going to be missing that probably would have been able to run the table. That's Team USA men that will not be playing in the Olympics for 3-on-3 basketballs. They were unable to qualify, falling on this past Sunday to the Netherlands in 3-on-3 basketball. But don't worry, there's still Team USA. The women are going to be representing Team USA.
Let's go.
Led by the likes of Alicia Gray for Team USA and for the Americans as well. Now kind of looking at how things are going to shape up. Another interesting sport that makes its debut in the Tokyo Olympics here this year, but unfortunately Team USA's men that did have a couple familiar names for the likes of Minnesota, former Golden Gopher Joey King, former Timberwolf Robbie Hummel.
You remember him?
Was also on that team for Team USA, but looking at it as well as Team USA's women, absurd or approved, going to be able to nab the gold medal.
Oh, I didn't even know about this until you had this.
I just stumbled upon it. It's like, ooh, this will be fun.
This is interesting. Very interesting. Now, I was thinking that they'd have a little bit more like star power with this, but all of a sudden I'm looking at this, and now we have Minnesota connection. Joey King was a very good player, by the way, for the Gophers.
Absolutely.
I think he was a great three-point shooter. And, he averaged 7.8 points per game for this event and everything. Robbie Hummel, there were a lot of high aspirations for him, and he just never, I don't think he ever, got to the league at all. Or maybe he played a couple games here or there, but he never panned out. Yeah, it was very brief. And he struggled apparently in those games, and the Netherlands came and took care of business. But yeah, let's talk about the women's team. I mean, clearly they're kicking butt. I mean, they defeated Spain 21-13. I believe the games are up to 21 then, right? I assume. I
believe so, yeah.
Oh, okay. So it is kind of like almost a 21 deal. And now, I mean, things are looking good. Alicia Gray, watch out. I think you got, it's got my stamp of approval. Why the hell not? I mean, you got to look at this. I didn't even know this was happening, but I was looking at some of the clips here, and there's a lot to like with this. And, it's interesting because, I think they're trying to make it a little bit more interactive with fans and people, watch it and whatnot. But, 3-on-3 basketball, I used to, when I was coaching, I used to do that with with my teams and everything like that. And, working together as a team, a lot of it's fun. It's fun game. It's a fun game. So, stamp of approval, Voldy. I think they could. I want them to go for gold. Do I think they're going to go for gold? Hell yeah. Why not? Stamp of approval, Voldy.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
If there was any way to get back in the game of basketball for Maya Moore, it would be 3-on-3 basketball. Look, I'm just saying, it's been a few years. She's got some rust to shake off. if and when she ever decides to come back, I don't think she'll be coming back to basketball anytime soon, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But a career she's had, this would be the way to do it. I'm just putting it out there. If she could find a way to, put on the shoes one more time, it's too bad that Team USA men won't be able to play, especially when you have Robbie Hummel, who reinvented himself as one of the best 3-on-3 players in the world and was the World Cup MVP back in 2019. That certainly speaks to the fact that maybe he finally figured something out as well.
Yeah.
Do I think Team USA is going to go for the gold? I think they will. Obviously there's going to be France, there's going to be Latvia, Poland, the Netherlands as well. There's going to be some of those Eastern European countries that are definitely going to be looking to make a little noise, but I think Team USA finds a way.
Yeah, Team USA will find a way. I think we both agree on that. Zoners, let us know what you think. I definitely think that they'll get there. They'll get there. So, all right, let's go to ice hockey. Voldy.
Well, we've talked about now soon to be 3 guys. 2 guys, Ryan Reeves, Tom Wilson, been in a little bit of hot water as of late and receiving suspensions from the NHL for some unsavory hits as well. But one that will not go on in as a suspension. NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman did say that the 8-game suspension for Colorado Avalanche center Nazem Kadri is going to be upheld, which was filed on Monday. Now, Kadri did take out St. Louis Blues in their first round series, that being Justin Falk, Minnesota guy, by the way, against the likes of, again, that was in the first round, and going into the second round, Kadri did receive the suspension back on May 21st for the high, forceful check to the head of Blues defenseman Justin Falk in the third period against St. Louis. After the review, the referees did assess the 5-minute major for the illegal check and even a match penalty, so he was done for the night as well, for the check to the head as well. Obviously, Justin Falk hasn't been the same since and wasn't seen very much for the rest of the series as well. Now, absurd or approved that the NHL definitely messed up another one with upholding the suspension against Nazem Kadri.
I looked at that hit, and that was a rough hit, man. I mean, it's absolute destruction. He's got a record. I mean, this guy has definitely, I think if you went through this, I mean, he's got a multitude of records here. I think they're giving, the NHL are giving these guys too many chances. Too many chances to go out there. They're just, it's got to get to a point where it's like, you know what, you're not going to play the whole playoffs. Because if you're doing checks like that, I mean, it's his 3rd playoff suspension over the past 6 postseasons. I mean, throwing that out there as well. But it comes to a point where it's like, when is enough enough? I mean, these guys could. I mean, Falk was absolutely destroyed. I mean, he got wrecked. And it's one thing to say that, and obviously with Reeves on Suter, I mean, they act like nothing happens. And I think the NHL, needs to, put their foot down at some point. They have to put their foot down at some point and say, stop doing this. I mean, there are legal hits in the NHL. Just go and do it. Just go and just do it like that instead of going and nailing guys into, the goal nets and blindsiding and then putting your shoulder into his face too. I mean, good Lord. But Easy A says approved his style of play, but he crossed the line. And I think, a lot of players don't understand when they cross the line. So, I'd say the NHL messed this up, Voldy, again. I mean, it's one of those things where they need to figure out what the hell they're doing half the time. So, Voldy, what do you think?
I find it very interesting, too, just because of the fact that, you give out a couple suspensions to a couple other players. It's very interesting to see that the fact that Ryan Reeves, Tom Wilson did get suspensions, and then, beyond that, you got to keep guys accountable as well. Kadri is no stranger to this. Last couple of seasons as well, especially in the postseason, he's made himself very notable for suspensions as well. but I definitely see this as Gary Bettman's not winning any more fans over, especially with upholding an 8-game suspension, too. I mean, I could see reducing from 8 down to 5 maybe, but from 8 to 0 is just completely ridiculous overall. It's completely absurd.
Well, absolutely. And, it's one of those things where when are they going to understand? Like, oh, it's completely... Yeah, because he was looking right at him and saw where he was aiming. And he was aiming for the head, okay? So it's one of those things where, a lot of people are not fans of Bettman. And I believe someone made the comment, too, that, Vegas is kind of his baby in a way. In some aspects, so the Wild may not have had a chance to even win the series. So there's
definitely not. I hope Vegas is prepared for when Seattle becomes the new baby of Gary Bettman. So,
yeah, that's true too.
They're not going to get the same calls that they were getting the last few years. So
yeah, damn right. So, all right, next one, Voldy.
Well, we move on from the world of suspensions in NHL. Well, we go to the world of non-fungible tokens offerings. That's right.
Crypto.
NFTs we're talking about. Just as the lower third says, MLB NFTs. What the heck is going on? As, Major League Baseball is going to be expanding its non-fungible tokens offerings this fall, partnering with a new company that plans to eschew the moment-driven NFTs popularized by such things as NBA Top Shot, and instead focus on other digital elements. So this has kind of seen a little bit of rise as well in the past year. Obviously, if you haven't been paying attention, the world of sports card trading has significantly skyrocketed with COVID over the past year as well. It's been keeping guys like a one Jimbo Vold in business as well as it's been getting back into the game. But as opposed to Major League Baseball offering a series of trading card style NFTs from Topps, which they are doing currently, they're going to take into more things from what I've surmised here from this article that we're looking at. It's actually moments itself. Case in point, the first release will be July 4th. The Lou Gehrig's Luckiest Man speech that was delivered 82 years to that day and will be minted just once. So that means someone can actually own that moment as well. Yep. Also, fun fact, it's Lou Gehrig's day as well across Major League Baseball. Other digital assets, from artistic renderings to tokens for in-person experiences, are expected to roll out in the fall and to be sold on the platform that is partnering with Major League Baseball. So basically, you could own the rights to a moment. That's what I'm kind of getting at from this here. Mm-hmm. Goes along with cryptocurrency. Apparently, Gary Vaynerchuk is in it as well. Our boy Gary V. He's hilarious to talk to, and he's a pretty smart dude as well. Is it absurd or approved that Major League Baseball getting into the NFT game, and especially the route that they're going with it as well?
Well, you know what one of the examples is right here is the Yerman Mercedes home run over Astudillo. You can own that moment, apparently.
Yeah, apparently.
Well, first of all, it's embarrassing, for one, if you're a Twins fan, especially when you're putting out a guy that doesn't pitch at all. But, again, you're trying to save your arms and everything like that. Classic Twins. And, it seems like baseball is trying to find ways, again, to get people involved. And, apparently cryptocurrency is the thing now. Now, with these NFTs, I don't know too much about it, okay? So I'm no expert, but it seems like it's a money aspect to this, and if it gets fans involved with it, fine. But I just don't. I don't see myself doing something like that, going out and buying, anything like that. It's just the MLB trying to stay, relevant with this. And Manfred is obviously a clown himself, and if it's gonna make you more money, go ahead, get your money, do what you want to do with this. But could it fall flat on your face? Maybe. I don't know. But,
definitely.
It's worth a shot. I mean, I guess it's got my stamp of approval just because we'll see where it goes, and if it falls flat on its face, well, then maybe we're changing our mind here. So,
Right.
yeah, I guess it's got my stamp of approval. Go ahead and make your money. So, Voldy, what do you think?
You know, Major League Baseball is trying to be that weird uncle that you have. They're trying to relate to all the young kids and trying to be cool, trying to be hip. But apparently, going to the route of NFTs is the way that they're going to try and do that. This has got Manfred written all over it too. He's trying to feel the pulse of the world right now, going with the crypto, the NFTs. And next thing you know, he'll be doing all the TikToks as well to go along with trying to stay relevant for all the kids out there. Because let's be honest, Major League Baseball is the old man sport. Obviously, you got the guys in there like the Javi Baez's and the Fernando Tatis Juniors that are trying to make it a little bit more exciting. Obviously, even to Trevor Bauer trying to do their best to keep the game fun and everything. But this is just another step that's going to be very, very interesting too. Like you were talking about with the Tortuga and the Mercedes situation as well. Not only could you own that moment as well, you could own a photograph of it. You could own an artist rendering of that moment, plus the highlight, and even an opportunity to interact with Mercedes or Astudillo or both as well. So just from that one moment alone, what's that, 5 or 6 different ways that Major League Baseball can make money off of that? It's completely ridiculous, and that's what we just need to get is more money in the hands of Rob Manfred.
Well, that's what you get. You know, that's what you get with it. So I guess, do what you want. If it fails, then, well, it's on you, Manfred. So whatever. So, all right, last one, Voldy.
Well, it just came out here actually yesterday that the CFL's Edmonton football team decided to come out with their new mascot, previously known as the Edmonton Eskimos. They decided this past year, in the wake of the whole Washington football team situation, that they decided to drop their longtime nickname as well, the Eskimos, amid pressure on the franchises to, obviously eliminate stereotypical and racist names. And, well, the announcement was made that the Edmonton CFL franchise will now be known as the Edmonton Elks, keeping the same color scheme, brand new logo that has been unveiled as well. And this also opens up the list of potential names that they came up on the short list. Besides the Elks, they were deciding the likes of the Evergreens, the Evergolds, the Eclipse, Elkhounds, Eagles, and Elements. Now, is it absurd or approved that Edmonton went with the Elks, and also to throw an American twist on everything, like we always like to do? Will Washington ever choose a logo? Will the Washington football team remain WFT, or will they actually choose a WFT logo?
Well, first of all, let's get to the Elks thing. I think it's pretty badass, to be honest with you. I like the name. I like the color scheme's okay. The logo is kind of, it's okay. It's not great. But I like it. The Edmonton Elks. It's got a nice ring to it. All the other, added stuff that, or names that they considered, the Elkhounds, I don't really understand some of those. The Eclipse maybe, but I like this. I like the color scheme that they have. It's interesting to me, and obviously, the hashtag is #ElksCharge, which is interesting. So, I don't know. We may have a new favorite CFL team. Who knows? But, yeah, it's got my stamp of approval. I like the name. I like where they're going with it, and let's see what happens. I'm pretty stoked. As for your Washington football team question here, will they ever pick one?
Footballs.
Yeah, the Fighting Footballs. Is Dan Snyder still the owner?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, probably never. Just because the guy's an absolute clown. I know I keep calling people clowns, but it's true. He is probably the biggest idiot of them all. But he's, I just don't see it happening anytime soon. Apparently, it's not going to happen until after this upcoming season, which is like, you can't. We've said it before on the show, Voldy. Just pick a frickin' name. Just pick a name, Washington. This isn't rocket science. This isn't what you have to completely consider. It's a name. Just pick one. Go with the committee and just do one. Just pick one. That's all you need to do.
So what you're saying is we need ourselves a Timberwolves situation. We need Derek Jeter and Bill Gates to go in on the Washington football team.
Yeah, exactly. We might have to.
Hey, Bill Gates got nothing better to do right now.
That's
He's
true.
Divorced now. So.
He's divorced. That's true. That's very true.
Yep.
So, but yeah,
Man.
I like the Elks though. They might be my new team just because it's a cool name. I like it. So, Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, I like the Elks name too. It kind of fits because they were the Eskimos, the EE. It works out really well. I think it just kind of fits the era as well. I'm always going to be a Saskatchewan Roughriders guy and sneakily Winnipeg Blue Bombers because back in the day, Bud Grant coached the Blue Bombers back in those days. Won a few Grey Cups there as well. But even the fact that like you had mentioned, Dan Snyder's still owner, probably not going to be coming up with a name as long as we're still alive. So. Here come the fighting footballs for the Washington football team. And obviously, too, we're still waiting to see what kind of name that Cleveland for the Cleveland Baseball Club comes up with as well. They just may stay as Cleveland for Lord knows how long as well as that, too. But, Washington's not going to be choosing the name anytime soon. If they do, it'll be big news to us.
Yeah, it will be, and we'll keep track of it because we like ripping Dan Snyder, obviously. Well,
yeah.
The Washington football team, we might not be laughing at them too much if they make a big deal for one Aaron Rodgers, which they've been one of those teams that have been interested, but I don't see it happening. But then again, we've seen some crazier things. Ron Rivera's there too, so that might change some stuff. I like Ron Rivera. So, but anyway, I believe that will do it for Absurd or Approved for this week. Great job as always, Voldy. Let's get to some Shield shoutouts, and obviously we kind of touched on it at the beginning of the show, so we'll get kind of in more detail for Shield shoutouts. So let's get it going. What's up, Shield shoutouts?
Shield shoutouts.
All right, Voldy, who are you shouting out tonight?
Well, we definitely have to start on more of a positive side here with Shield shoutouts. A big Shield shoutout goes out to Minnesota Twins catcher Ben Rortvedt, who actually hit his very first Major League Baseball home run earlier this week, I believe in the series against Kansas City. The Wisconsin native called up earlier in the day and then hits a home run for the Minnesota Twins after being called up from AAA St. Paul, which is actually more fun to say than you actually think as well. So big Shield shout out to Ben Rortvedt for hitting his first Major League home run. So if you tuned in at the top of the show, we did mention the fact that yours truly, the Shield, in the Shield Mobile, did take a bit of a glancing blow, if you will, from Mother Nature. Well, not so much Mother Nature, wildlife. My very first experience, I hit a deer for the very first time last night on my way back from my job broadcasting some baseball games for high school sports. Lo and behold, hits the front passenger side of the car, hits the bumper area. But luckily enough, I'm okay. Obviously, right here, we're okay. Car
I've been here the
is
whole
drivable.
time.
It's okay. It's very serviceable right now. A little bit of upkeep with that will be just fine. But got to give an anti-Shield shout-out, an unshield shout-out, if you will, to that deer that struck my car. And again, first time handling, I feel like I handled it pretty well. But there's some other circumstances. It also helped I was like the only car out on the road at that time. It was like 9 o'clock at night on a Tuesday in northern Minnesota. It was fairly dark out as well. But I do have to give a couple big Shield shout-outs to the one, the only creative consultant, Mrs. Sarah Ann Toosvold, for multiple reasons relating to the whole deer situation. One, cleaning off the deer remnants, if you will, that were all over the side of my car.
Yeah.
I don't know if the deer is dead, but I'm assuming if you saw pictures of the damage, you would probably assume that the deer is probably not feeling so hot here this evening as well. But also the fact here later on this day as well, she went, Mrs. Sarah Ann Toosvold went on to put the car back together, basically. Use as many zip ties as the good Lord intended, and basically put it all together. I actually had to go run down and grab my camera out of my car. And if I didn't even know any better and know what happened, I'd say it looks pretty good as of right now. So a big Shield shout out to Mrs. Sarah Ann Toosvold for putting that together. And also really quick, too, made a stop over to the likes of Litchfield over the weekend, add a little something here to the shrine. Remember this?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Still got a few, 3 of these actually still left.
Yeah, I do
She
remember
found the best
that.
one overall. So
Yeah.
that's be having a nice little one that'll stay right next to the big cowbell that says "Ring for Beer." So we'll have that to go with as well. But I think we still got one more surprise here. If I think
hold on.
We got a little bit of shenanigans going on here really quick. Someone I think is just about ready to make their debut here. I think he's ready. Oh, come here, buddy.
There he is. Hey, there he is. Kase.
My little one.
There he is. Kase
He's not
Paul
too happy
James.
right now, but Kase Paul James Vold making his debut here on MinneZona Sports Live. You can see the onesie.
Oh, yeah.
He's wearing it.
He's wearing
I think it's just about bedtime for the little guy. So.
Yeah, he's looking a little tired, but you know,
Just
you
a little
just gotta,
bit. It's been a long day.
It's been a long day for the keepers. I mean, that's kind of the main thing. But this is the debut. This is the debut of Kase Paul James here live on MinneZona Sports Live.
He's just staring down Mom right now, and he's not too happy.
I think he's like,
we'll catch him on a better day.
Yeah, we'll catch you on a better day. No worries.
Everybody happy.
Bro, I've been here the whole time.
And as Marshawn's saying, bro, I've been here the whole time. So that's it's kind of how it goes. But is that going to do it for Shield Shoutouts? Is there more?
That'll do it for Shield Shoutouts.
That'll do it for Shield Shoutouts this week. We love it. But Kase Paul James. I mean, there you go. Nothing better than that. Nothing better than that.
Sure.
So, but anyway, before we wrap things up, zoners, we have shirts, we have stickers, we've got it all. I mean, if you guys want stickers, we got plenty. We got plenty to give to you. If you want some, $2, $3, we'll get them to you. I know some people want them. They just got to pull the trigger. I mean, it's not that hard. It's not that hard. And then also we got the shirts, $20, $5 shipping. Talk to me, talk to Voldy, talk to Kerf Talk to Jimbo. We'll get you set up. We'll get it going for you. All right, and then big shout out, obviously, National Fleet Graphics, Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson, for getting us the stickers. They look fantastic. People love them. And former intern guy actually has his bumper sticker on the back of his truck. Boo in some aspects, but yeah, since it's intern guy, we can boo him. But anyway, W2 Performance, make sure you check out the Barbell Nerds, the podcast with Will Rattel. The offer still stands, I believe, Voldy, with
Red Pepper.
The Red Pepper. Okay, so we'll keep in tune with
Rattel,
that.
hit me up, man.
And then also he's got stickers, $2, and maybe he'll have stickers with him, and then maybe we can we need to exchange it with Rattel. I feel like too. I mean, we'll get it figured out. And then make sure you check out Jack's Junkyard. Now with apparel, Jack's Junkyard, we just got our sweatshirts. They look fantastic, so thanks to Jack for Jack's Junkyard. Make sure to check his show out. He's on season 2. And apparel. If you want apparel, he's got apparel. Check him out. Then also check out Breaking Into the League podcast with Sam Gabrielli, Ryan Martin, available on the Spotify's, the Apple Podcasts. It's a great time to be or listening to that podcast with the NHL playoffs going on. So make sure you tune in for that. But then one other thing to close. We are off next week. But we shall be back, episode 68, and who knows, who might show up? I don't know. We're in talks with some people. We might get them on. So we'll keep you posted on that. We'll still post stuff on the socials medias and all that fun stuff. So make sure you guys tune in for that as well. But until then, as always, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.